In this video, we uncover from bars to bribery in a country that claims to be the beacon of human rights. We expose the people and the companies profiting from mass incarceration. The United Nations report urges the U.S. government to shut down Guantanamo Bay, citing that the 30 detainees still held there endure cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment, which violates international law. The report highlights a clear double standard in the U.S. approach to international law and brings attention to deeply concerning patterns of imprisonment. This is the story of a $300 billion a year industry in the USA that thrives on policing and punishment for profit. The country leads the world in the highest number of people incarcerated, spending $80 billion annually on this public goal. As of 2020, an estimated 2.3 million individuals are held in U.S. prisons, and there are almost 4,000 companies profit from mass incarceration. Private prisons, a significant component of this industry, have experienced rapid growth, earning an estimated profit of $374 million annually. Their inmate population increased 5 times faster than the overall prison population from 2000 to 2016, with approximately 8% of U.S. prisoners, around 128,000 individuals incarcerated in private facilities. Since 2000, the number of federal inmates in private prisons has increased by a staggering 77%. Operated mainly by 5 major companies, example, Geo Group, CoreCivic, to LaSalle Corrections, these private prisons often claim cost advantages over government-run facilities. For example, $150 a night to $200, enticing states to rely heavily on their services. Several states, including Arizona, Hawaii, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Tennessee, house between 21 to 45% of their prison population in private facilities. In some cases, private prison contracts include occupancy guarantees, where the government agrees to maintain a minimum number of inmates in the facility regardless of the actual crime rates. The profit motive of these prisons has raised concerns about potential conflicts of interest, as they may prioritize cost-cutting measures and high inmate numbers over rehabilitation efforts. Furthermore, lobbying by private prison companies for harsher sentencing laws perpetuates mass incarceration and disproportionately affects communities of color. For males 18 to 19 years old, blacks were 9 times more likely to be incarcerated. Transparency and accountability are lacking in the private prison system, making it difficult to access comprehensive information on contracts and costs. As a result, these corporations often operate without sufficient oversight, seemingly untouchable by the law. Studies have shown that when states shift from government-run to privately owned prisons, incarceration rates and sentence guidelines tend to increase. Systemic racial bias further exacerbates the broken prison system. By age 35, approximately 50% of black men have been arrested, 35% of them been convicted, and 25% incarcerated. Policies like the war on drugs have been instrumental in driving mass incarceration of black minorities. The initiative, introduced in the 1970s, fueled the explosion of mass incarceration. Scandals like Kids for Money further raised concern on corruption. Add captive labor, exploitation of incarcerated workers further drive doubts of legitimacy. Average minimum hourly wage paid to workers for non-industry jobs is just 13 cents. In the pursuit of profits, the private prison industry continues to thrive, expanding to immigrant detention facilities and funding politicians that support border security. The Immigration and Custom Enforcement, otherwise known as ICE, gets a substantial detention budget, $2.8 billion in 2022 alone, leaving a trail of ethnic concerns and calls for reform in its wake. This is a complex and troubling reality of an industry that prioritizes money over the welfare of rehabilitation of those with its grasp a predatory criminal justice that traps vulnerable people in its wake.